You're listening to Airy Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
Being accountable to those years in front of you that you haven't lived yet, instead of letting yesterday determine what those look like. Of course it's hard, but so is not following your dreams. So is compromising. So is spending a life with a bunch of what ifs and could haves. Now, I'd rather fuck up and fail and know it didn't work than sit there with a bunch of those feelings. I really want to help people make the most of the life that's in front of them and not feel this stuck obligation to continue showing up as something that's no longer serving. I look and ask myself, was this spent in pursuit of my dreams and taking actions aligned with who I want to be? Surrounding myself with people I love that bring value to me, that I get to share my love and value with as well? Or was it spent out of obligation and doing a bunch of shit just to get to the next thing to do? I'm an experience junkie because I kind of want to just be fit enough to be able to say yes to almost any adventure about 8 weeks out. This is Matt Vincent, and you're listening to Airy Bros Radio.
You are definitely living our dream, being a former athlete who's kind of transitioning out of that into other avenues. And when I was searching your content, I was, Rich was like, "Hey, have you hit up Matt Vincent yet?" I said, "No, who's that?" And he sent me your stuff, and I just dove deep. And you have a video up that says, I believe it's titled "Become Unstoppable," and it's you giving for lack of a better term, like a keynote speech at an
event in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. And so it was one of those videos that I kept on telling myself I had to finish before I sent it to Rich, because within 30 seconds, I was like, I want to do burpees right now. Like this is getting me fired up. And
oh man, that's one of the worst compliments I've ever got. I don't want people to do more burpees.
You just got me fired up. You had me feeling like the ultimate warrior shaking the ropes. Maybe that's a better comparison.
Yeah, I love that.
And there's a point in there where you say that, you have over 350 podcasts and none of them have popped, and, you don't have 1 million views or anything. And I was like, this guy's talking to me. Because it's kind of, we put a lot of content out and we haven't got the payback because we have that athletic mindset of just show up. And that's something you actually say in the video, is just show up. At what point of your showing up did you kind of figure out, like, I'm this guy that these other athletes need, or are you just being yourself and in turn, people like us are finding you?
For me, it's really been intentional to be me. And that's one of those things that's allowed, I think, the growth to be sustainable, because I didn't want to get trapped as having to talk about the Highland Games forever. And I didn't want to get trapped having to talk about strength and conditioning forever. I love those things, right? But that's not my sole purpose in life. I got into both of those things so that I could have cooler experiences. And so I'm an experience junkie. And so that's what I want to continue to share the story of, is continuing to make self-improvement and continuing to create the life I want to live, not be withholden and obligated to continue being this Highland Games world champion or this strength athlete, or having to continue staying in my lane, for a lack of a better term. Now, with that said, there's the reality and consequences that come with that. Do I think that there's a better opportunity to make content that pops to grow a bigger audience if you get really niche? For sure. For sure. All evidence states that that's how it works. But at the same time, I have a lot of varied interest. And for me to stay true to me, like, I want to explore all of it. And so I know that there's other people out there that feel the way I do. And I can't think of anything worse than building this life that I love and now feeling like it's a job again, that I have to make content about something else, something I'm not passionate about anymore. In the same way, for me, it would be no one's advice, right? Like, after 9 years of having a brand and building a following and doing something, to be like, I want to change the name of everything. Like, nobody takes that as the smartest advice. But I know it's the right advice, because that's what I'm passionate about talking about. Now, that means I've got to take the responsibility that if people don't jump on board with the new thing, that's my fault. So it's my job to re-educate. It's my job to explain why this is the better message. It's my job to create better content around this so that people in the future don't even ever fucking know I did that other thing. I love the fact that I get to talk to people on a regular basis now that have no idea that I competed in the Highland Games. That was my goal of doing something else after that sport. And so, yeah, I mean, for a long answer of, yeah, I just want to be true to me and continue to scratch those itches because I'm dead at the end of this ride anyway.
Was there a time that you weren't true to you?
I think there's times that I was less, even when I was working a more corporate job, right, and doing outside sales in the oil and gas industry. I mean, that job didn't answer any of this personal fulfillment I had other than it paid really well. It also provided me time to train for the Highland Games. So I, in my spare time, did the thing that was lighting my soul on fire. And I understood the purpose of the job I had allowed me to pursue this other thing. And so while not every aspect of my life was fully serving of that, there's been times where it's more and less, I guess is what I would say.
Matt, do you think that this was always going to be the path, or do you think maybe some of your athletic injuries and some of the things that happened kind of maybe rerouted you and steered you into this direction, or maybe jump-started and pushed you into it sooner?
I had no fucking idea that this is what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
Not even 5 years ago. And so, I mean, I knew that like I wouldn't be doing Highland Games into my 40s. I didn't have any interest even when I was still competing at my best. You figured that was 2016 was my last season. So what, 8 years ago, 7 years ago. There's no way that I'm still throwing at the high level that I would have been now. So at some point the games were going to go away anyway, but I didn't have any idea what I would do next. I probably thought I would have continued doing more things for the games. Like I did try for a bit right after I got hurt. I kept active in the sport by traveling to places and doing MC work. And so what I looked at that is being able to still provide value to the sport by my commentary, my expertise, and my ability to speak on a microphone. So kind of as I've stayed on the journey of continuing to want to just be my best and create the life I want to, I got to look at the opportunities that are showing up and what are the skills that I've acquired along the way to take advantage of it. So, but no, like I definitely didn't go into the Highland Games with some idea of this is going to be a great opportunity for me to host retreats one day and work with men in community or women in community and help people reach their goals.
Was there any sort of that community within the Highlands Games at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. And those are those big things that I lost when I got hurt. The Highland Games is such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing. Like no one gives a shit about it, which I don't hold that against anyone. It's fucking weird. But I loved it. I love throwing and I love the avenue that it gave me to continue throwing when I have no business pursuing the Olympics. I don't have whatever tools it takes to compete at that level. And so this gave me this great outlet. And unlike powerlifting or weightlifting or strongman, all the top 20 guys in the world train by themselves. And so really the only time we're in community with our peers is when we're competing. But because Highland Games is such a different sport that we compete a lot. So I would compete like 20 plus times a season. And so I'm seeing these guys every weekend, basically. And whenever that went away, yeah, that was a tough part. And there wasn't any feeling of abandonment, man. I've been around sports long enough to know that the sport has its own life and the people come in and out of it. But after that time goes, that's when you've got to decide what are we moving toward and who's the next community that I need to be surrounded by.
When you originally got hurt, I know it turned into one surgery and then it turned into 9, I believe.
Yeah.
Was there a process in that where you were just focused on, I got to get back, and then you slowly realized that wasn't going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of the original plan there was the end of 2016. I mean, I didn't have a catastrophic failure. It was just things were getting worse and deteriorating. And so when I finished that season, I wrapped up second in the world. And my plan was, all right, we've got some time to drop some weight. We're going to get fit. We're going to go in and get this ACL done. And I'm going to document and share the process of rehabbing this ACL and getting back to competing and win another world championship in 2018. That was the plan. And then we had another surgery. Then we had another surgery. And like, I remember, like, I'm still journaling during all that process because I'm going to share this information, right? Like, that's going to be the book I'm currently writing. And I remember in that process of not just sharing like 20 minutes rehab on the assault bike today, plus stretching, plus scraping, plus whatever else needed to be done. But I was sharing a lot of like where my mindset was during it. And I remember writing in there one day when I'd kind of got to the point with chronic pain that I'm walking with a cane and my knee's not getting better. Like, I'm long enough out of surgery that we should still be making some linear progress, and we're not. And one day writing in there that I was like, oh, we're never going to compete again. That's no longer the focus of this. Like, we got to get returned back to healthy. We've got to get returned back to functional. We're not looking at being best in the world anymore, man. That bell's been rang. That was a scary day, dude.
How long did it take you to, because I know you mentioned that was a day, but I didn't have anywhere close to what you had with your knee, but I tore my medial meniscus that turned into 2 surgeries, and that was kind of the end of the jiu-jitsu dream for me. But Rich lived with me throughout that process, and for 3 years I was a miserable person to be around, and I was like a wounded animal. How long did that process take? I know you said it was like 2018 was the goal, but was it way past that you kind of felt like you were yourself again, or a new person that you became?
It really wouldn't have been until after I got the knee replacement in 2019. Up till that point, yeah, I was terribly scared of whether or not I would actually get out of chronic pain, because I just knew that wasn't going to be a long-term thing I dealt with. And so whatever that meant, I'd kind of been okay with. And so it's so easy when you get in that dark spot, all I could think about were the things that I couldn't do anymore. You know, I can't lift the way that I love to anymore. I can't train how I love to, which means I don't have the way to manage stress. I can't go do the thing that I'm greatest at, which was throw, which was the Highland Games, because I love doing it. Like, I didn't need to go be convinced to go train. I like throwing because I like how good I am at it. I feel so confident in it. And then it's one of those things that I've got competence in, the way someone plays guitar, right? That you can do it for stress management because it can kind of run in the operating system. Well, I could do that throwing, except now it's all gone. And it took a lot of work and a lot of inner work to switch my mindset over to being able to see the abundance of like, okay, so what all can we do? And let's focus our energy on the things we can do, because the things we can't do are gone. Let's find the gratitude to be able to say, holy shit, I can't believe I found a sport that I got to pour every bit of my heart into for a decade that did nothing but give back. It was never going to be permanent. That's the way this works. So let's thank it. Let's enjoy those years that we got to have. I can't believe they were as great as they were. I can't believe I got to be around the people I was, not living in that lack of I don't have it anymore. It's how special it is that I ever got it. It's how special it is that I ever got to touch that type of fire and passion in my life. And so now the pursuit is to find the next one, because I damn sure didn't grow up knowing Highland Games was going to be it. I'm an idiot from Louisiana who fell in love with a 700-year-old sport from Scotland. So maybe I need to do some more exploration to find the next thing that sets me on fire just as much.
I've heard you talk about it, I guess, after, at least for me, after maybe 2019, it came on my radar. You're talking about psychedelics and your use of some of those medicines. Had that ever, was that something that had been on your radar at all? Did you dabble in college, or did that come in after the injury? And then either or, how much of that and the work with that kind of helped you, I guess, along that journey of realizing that you're maybe no longer going to be the athlete that you were?
Yeah, definitely psychedelics have been a part of my journey. I didn't really dabble in anything outside of alcohol, and I mean ever. I don't think I really. I think I smoked pot like once or twice, like right after the end of college. But I really, really believed in the just say no to drugs type thing, and that this at some point would ruin my fucking life. Somehow, alcohol would be magic and not. Um, right, like it's not a drug. It's really weird that we backed that one. And so kind of through that course of things of getting hurt, one of those moments I really remember having is like I said, I really accepted that if I don't solve the problem of chronic pain, that this isn't going to be long term for me. That one day I'm going to decide I don't want to be here anymore, and I'll make a really shit decision. And so if I know that that is the ending of the story of me not solving chronic pain, then there's no risk to try anything that could possibly be beneficial. And so from that point on, I looked at cannabis as really being kind of my first option to dabble in. And this was well after Highland Games was over and I'm in my, early 30s. I was looking for something else as an option for pain management outside of opiates. And so we started with edible marijuana and noticed benefit from it. I noticed I would sleep better. I noticed I was in a better mood because I slept better. I noticed I had less inflammation, and so I was in less pain. So I'm nicer to the people around me. It all compounds on that thing. And so still having that fear of like, there's some amount of this that's going to ruin my life, that other shoe will drop and I'll be a fucking loser for the rest of my life and a stoner and a burnout. And it never came. It never came. And I had to realize like, all right, so everything I've been told is possibly bullshit. Maybe I need to have a real experience before I decide anything else. And, around that time, I got exposed to some really great mentors in that space as far as psychedelics go. I got lucky enough to get ushered into that world by Kyle Kingsbury and Aubrey Marcus and some well-known travelers of that realm. And for me, we're well-known travelers of that realm that still had shit going on in their life that I was interested in. They were fit, they were healthy, they were still strong and very capable. They were very active in running successful businesses, so they weren't fuck ups. And so getting to see that gave me at least enough bravery to say, all right, I'm interested to know what's going on. So I experimented with psilocybin the first time, and I can say that that's the first time in a couple years that I remember my pain threshold being at a real zero. Was that first time. And I remember feeling like an actual break from having to think about pain and like whatever filter that puts on everything that you see and feel throughout the day. And with that kind of eye-opening thing, I just remember being like, oh, fascinating. We're probably going to experiment with more of that. And as I have with continuing to microdose and continue into the plant medicine journey, whether it's through ayahuasca or anything else, those things have been huge shifts in my mindset and perspective around what I can accomplish and what things I've allowed to limit my ability to make progress. And so they've opened up a really wide world to me about what I'm really capable of and being able to find that gratitude for the past.
What kind of dose are we talking about there for that first time where you really noticed zero pain?
I think was probably somewhere around 1-2 grams tops.
Okay.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough to say like, holy shit, we took mushrooms.
Nice.
I remember not only just that, but I remember being in the backyard with a bunch of friends at my house. And, I I just remember feeling surrounded by love and like actually getting to see that energy in the people I was around. And not only that, like feeling this desire for them to know they're loved. And I was like, oh, that's a real fascinating side effect of a drug. Because that's not what alcohol does. And so
Nope.
over time with all of that too, I really quit drinking because it created more inflammation and made my leg hurt more. And so back to that kind of equation of I know what happens if I don't get out of chronic pain, then I've got to be the one to make a decision that if this removes any pain, I've got to do it.
How's the pain these days?
Way better. I mean, my hip's a little beat up, but also I think my perspective around it's really different too. You know, I treat my body a lot differently than I did then. You know, now being 40, it's way less of I'm not reaching for the hammer every time I go to the workout session to beat the shit out of myself to see what comes out of the back end. You know, I now use the workout sessions as a little bit more of performance enhancement for like whatever my life's requiring of me at the time.
What do your workouts look like these days? Do you follow any program, or do you just go and play in the gym when you go in there?
So following program, I follow my own. We've got a Daily Destroyer. It's just a daily program that we put together, myself and another great strength coach, Derek Woodsky, put together kind of how I train for my life now. Like I really want to be capable. So there's some Olympic lifting, there's some hip movement training, there's zone 2 cardio, and there's a lot of movement. And so those are those things that I still really need going forward because I kind of want to just be fit enough to be able to say yes to almost any adventure about 8 weeks out. And so that requires me to keep this foundational base. And so that's really what my training looks like. And I would say, 5 days a week in my morning routine, I do an hour of zone 2 cardio. And then later throughout the day, I get the rest of my workout. I very rarely now will sit and train for 60 straight minutes. And so I'll kind of do that hour in the morning by myself for just cardio. And then my lifting throughout the day, I kind of chip away at it. So like if I've got, 1 or 2 major lifts for the day, I go hit those. And then I may take a couple calls and do some meetings. And then I go back out and hit some accessories and then come back in here and do some things. So I kind of use it as a fidget spinner in a way to make sure productivity for the rest of the job, things I care about, stay good.
That's interesting you say that because Rich and I talk and we do some of the same things where, get our workout in, but throughout the day, we'll throw some stuff in just to kind of break up the day and keep moving. And I'm curious if that's just kind of that athletic mindset. Gotta like, you got to take your dog out for a walk or you got to throw the ball to it, got to like tire it out a little bit so you can get some work done.
Well, I think we operate so much in this kind of digital space, right? Like with, especially how I work. I mean, I sit in front of the computer most of the day now. And in that space, our brains can get so spun up because I can talk to 20 people and I can multitask and do a lot of things. But when I get in the gym and I get away from my phone, I can get present and back into my body. And that allows me to slow down that anxiety and slow down that thought process to be able to make good decisions again and go back to work. And so if where I'm trying to perform my best now is creating my brand in this community and being able to figure out the best way to translate my message to people, my ideas to people, whatever it is, then I need to be in the best mood possible to do that. And so using those tools now to do that, whether that's sauna or cold plunge or anything else.
So you bring up the sauna and the cold plunge, and I know you're heavy into the breath work too. Did that stuff come on the back end in the reintegration from some of the psychedelic stuff, or did that stuff go hand in hand?
I got introduced to sauna, cold, and breath work, I believe before that, through the Wim Hof style breathing stuff for performance enhancement, being able to up and down regulate. And then I got involved with hot and cold to help manage pain whenever that was kind of the big thing. It's the added side effects and benefits that have come from both of those things are really the reason that they're still in my program. That the breath work has so many available benefits depending on the intention you put behind it when you do it. And I feel the same with the sauna and cold. I know that I get these great benefits, right? Like all the Huber mini science shit. But again, I threw rocks in the field. Like I'm glad that I get all those, but they're not the main reason I do them. I think that opportunity every day to walk towards something that sucks, that I don't want to do, that's going to be uncomfortable, and realize the difference between discomfort and danger is really what benefits me. And unless I have something that involves practicing that in my day, why wouldn't that atrophy the same way my strength does? I mean, I'm not going to just have access to my max ability to manage stress if I've never been in stress.
Be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what creates adaptation, right? I mean, that's why muscles grow in the gym. That's why we develop skills in any sort, is we have to push that area, even as a creative and even as an artist, right? Like you end up pushing that area where you're slightly past what you think you're capable of doing. And if that means combining 10 skills at once, then that's part of it. But it's through that exploration of that discomfort that you open the ability to see what you're really capable of.
What's zone 2 look like for you most of the time?
I don't really track heart rate too bad, but I usually try to stay at a pace that holding a conversation would be a bit tricky.
I'm sorry. What discipline? Bike, run?
Oh,
hike,
sorry.
Wave vest. My bad.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'll do it on the bike.
Okay.
That one seems to, I can do it on the treadmill, and I don't particularly like running, so I'll walk or ruck, but that's a little bit rougher on the hip and knee.
Yeah.
Whereas I can pedal and just take the abuse on the ass.
So no more ultra marathons in your future?
I could see doing another event like Bryce Canyon, because I've enjoyed some longer hikes. Like we do the Berryman hike with our community every year, and that's like a 1 day 27 miler. So it's like 12 or 13 hours. And I dig that, but there's not some part of me that's, well, what more? I like having that ability, and I don't need to find the max effort version of it. Even with the cycling, I really enjoy the cycling aspect, and I have for a long time. I mean, my first failure as an entrepreneur was as a bicycle shop owner straight out of college. So it's kind of been a thing that's been with me ever since. And doing last year, I did the Not Dead Yet ride, which was, a 21 hour, 22 minute effort on the bike. And I love that. I thought it challenged a bunch of different parts of me that I don't have as a strength athlete, because it happens so fast. As throwing happens, and then I have to get a result to decide what I do next time. Whereas if I'm pedaling for 21 hours, I have a lot of time to talk to myself. And that's been a fun place to dabble in that I just didn't have any experience before going in. And I do really like that alone time in my head.
Yeah. It's where the magic happens sometimes.
Well, I think we're so used to getting inundated with information that we have to practice slowing down too. That's why we're all so fucking uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah. Have you ever combined the psychedelics with a long event? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all of them.
Okay, right on.
The Bryce Canyon run I did, I think I had 2 grams of mushrooms during it.
Nice.
I mean, my whole goal of training for Bryce Canyon wasn't to finish in a certain amount of time. It was to be fit enough to enjoy the day that I was out there.
Yep. Nice.
And my goal of effort was, I want to finish empty. Doesn't make any sense to burn up a mile out, and it doesn't make any sense to finish with a strong kick really slow.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we could definitely go for a run one day. You're definitely speaking the language of the area, bros.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
man.
I got a little low key flex. I probably haven't run a race not under the influence since like 2007. But I ran the Leadville 100 and the Boston Marathon on LSD.
Let's go. LSD's a great drug.
Yeah, it's fun.
Great drug. What type of dosage?
The marathon was probably about, in total, 70 or 80 micrograms.
Okay, so a little under a tab.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then
And so are you dosing throughout, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have I'll do I did probably 30 micrograms before it started.
Mhm.
And then I did another 20 or 30 right at the start. And then I had a water bottle that probably had about another 20 or 30 in it.
All right. So for your experience, right? Like, as you've used it now more than once for doing events, like what's the performance enhancement that you notice from it?
I mean, I can definitely just flow. And like, again, it's whether it's performance or just in ceremony, I always talk about set and setting. And I think that a lot of that has, in my opinion, is also like your headspace. So like if you're in a shitty mood before the race starts or something throws you off and you go through with it anyway, it's just going to put you on that hamster wheel of that thought process. Whereas if you're in a good headspace leading into it and at the start, it's gonna continue to carry you on that path. Because like when I did Boston, that was an unbelievable experience, like all time. And I wasn't doing it necessarily for performance. It was just, it's a Boston Marathon.
I think performance enhancement by using whatever, I think as long as you're identifying what that enhancement is that you're looking for, right? Like if it's to run a faster time, perhaps that's not the performance enhancer you want. But to get more for your soul out of the event, maybe it is. But if you're showing up to set the world record at the marathon, probably not the route I would take.
It depends on how deep you go. I think it's a very fine line where it can definitely enhance performance. And like when I say I didn't go to Boston to perform, I knew that that's a little bit over my level. Whereas like
I see what you're saying.
When I've done Leadville, like I've finished top 23 times at Leadville. Highest was 7th.
That's fucking crazy, man.
So that's a little bit more my speed at this age. But it can get you in a flow state. And like you said, like you have an overall gratitude for what you're doing. That was a big thing that kept me going in Boston, was like, because there's a qualifying time that you have to run to get into Boston. Not everyone gets into Boston. And I just had this kind of feeling like not everyone gets to do this.
Right.
Like I'm lucky enough and fit enough and capable enough that I get to be one of the 35,000 people that gets to suffer on this day.
Now, I remember that feeling when I did the bike ride and when I did Bryce Canyon, that like the self-talk, the mantra in my head was this, thank you lungs, thank you heart, thank you legs.
Yeah.
Thank you hip, thank you knee. Like just having that on repeat, this feeling of immense gratitude for being able to have the experience at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt, we don't want to talk about ourselves too much because we got Matt.
Sorry.
Sure.
Sorry.
No. I'm gonna give you a cheap plug. You asked Rich about the performance enhancements. We actually made a short doc. I just graduated film school, and it was one of the docs I made. It's called LSD, Long Slow Distance. So if you have like 5 minutes after this episode,
please email me a link. I'd love to watch it.
All right, yeah, I'll definitely send it to you. So you mentioned dope before. And I'm curious because I think you said it was a gym, but I thought it might have been a ceremony space. So kind of go into what dope is and what you guys do.
So what dope is and what dope got billed for are very different. Okay. I know me well enough that I've got to do some strategy to make sure I get the most out of myself. One of those things is like, I know I need to train. I know I need to be healthy. However, I'm not going to go to a commercial gym. And so then that means if I've got to be accountable to those things, then I need to have a space that I go. And whether that's I build it in my garage or anywhere else, I need a space. And so as we were kind of getting into St. Louis and Bonnie and I bought a house, I was looking for somewhere to be able to put my gym equipment. Plus, as much as content as we do, I need a place to film that I'm not in someone else's space because I fucking hate it. I hate being an asshole that needs the music off or any of this other shit. I hate it. And so I would rather just have my own spot that I don't have to run that by anyone. And if I want the music off, I don't have to fucking check on anyone. No one, that's my music. And so we built this space really for that. And then, you know, I added gym equipment and the things I wanted to it so that it looked good on film. One, we could use it for all those type of shoots that we need. Myself and Bonnie and my team, Brant, have a place to train anyway. And it's kind of slowly developed into a lot more. That was the purpose of it. And then I built it the way I built it with the branding of Dope and everything else, just because I enjoy doing that. And if I'm going to have a space, I may as well make it as true to me and inspiring to me to want to be better at my job as possible. And so the branding for Dope is Division of Performance Enhancement. So that's what it is for Not Dead Yet, for Not Dead Yet Headquarters, Not Dead Yet Life, Not Dead Yet the brand. This is the place that we get better. And so that's turned into, you know, we have the gym space, but then also we host breathwork here. And then we've started hosting retreats here, and it's continued to be able to shift into kind of whatever the space needs to be. And I'm really proud that it does that it doesn't feel like we're doing breath work in a gym, that it is able to shift to this other space and allow you to really be present in whatever that pursuit is.
So you mentioned the retreats, and I've seen some footage, and it looks like a 6 space. I don't know if they're portable saunas, but those look sick. The tubs look sick. How many other versions of Matt Vincent are going to see you? How many other former broken athletes or hurt athletes who are kind of in that transition period wind up at those retreats, and you kind of have to pull out that block that they have inside them?
That's really the goal. And it's not necessarily just for former athlete, right? I think it's anyone in this transition period of life. And I think so often that we want to write off people that don't know exactly what they want to do with their life by the time they're 20 as having some type of midlife crisis. And in fact, I feel like it's much more realistic to call it some type of a midlife awareness. And I think you should have a check-in at some point and be able to say, do I want to continue on this path? Because I don't fucking have to. And if I don't want to, what are the changes I need to make to do that? And so a lot of our retreats are built around that. I really want to help people make the most of the life that's in front of them and not feel this stuck obligation to continue showing up as something that's no longer serving them, continuing to stay in this relationship or this job or this career simply because I have for the last 10 years and I don't know something else. Like, that's the trap that keeps people stagnant and gets people lost and gets people stuck. And so hosting these retreats and giving them this change in conversation, change in community, and exposure to other people who have chased their dreams and realize like what the strategy is for doing that opens up this new idea of what you're possibly capable of accomplishing. Whereas before, you've agreed to a bunch of ideas that probably you can't, or I don't know anyone else who's been an entrepreneur, or I've never met anyone who changed careers, or I've never traveled outside of my own state. I've never been in a situation like this. I've never experimented with breath work. And so it gives people that opportunity to try to click into some new tools to be able to manage stress, be able to manage anxiety, be able to talk to themselves a little bit better and make sure that they are in fact creating the life they want to create.
Do you have any advice for someone who's, they're cranking the content out, right? They might not be getting the views, so they have to have that 9 to 5 to kind of supplement their life, but they still have that passion to create content, but it might feel like a compromise to them? Because I know, like, just listening to some of your videos and stuff, it's just like, go do your passion, and that's what we all want to do, but sometimes got to keep the lights on too. What's kind of the advice to navigate through those waters?
Look, a lot of that's going to be push and pull. A lot of that's going to, how do you, look, I'm aware in the content game that there's plenty of content that say, I don't want to make, that performs well. And if I'm not willing to do that, then I don't get to bitch and moan about it not performing well. So there is a push and a pull between that artistic integrity and being able to play the game, because there is part of the game, right? It is a free service, which is social media, that gives us access to reach tons and tons of people. And so if there's some bit that I need to play to an algorithm to be able to get my message out better, to impact people better, to create the life I want, that's not really a compromise, right? Because my goal is to be able to impact more people. So whatever allows me to do that is totally worth doing. Now, if I'm doing it simply for the fact of trying to make a cash grab and make money, admit that that's what you're into. But man, it's tough. It's fucking super, super fucking hard. Getting to live a life like this is unbelievable. And it's going to only be more and more competitive of people who are going to make an attempt to do it. And so, yeah, of course it's hard, but so is not following your dreams. So is compromising. So is spending a life with a bunch of what ifs and could haves. So is one day I'll do this. Man, I'd rather fuck up and fail and know it didn't work than sit there with a bunch of those feelings.
And that's where the marbles come in.
That's where the accountability shows up, man.
And so for the folks that are listening who are going to take a deep dive into Matt Vincent, another great thing that we've taken from you, and I don't think I was definitely going to do some burpees after I watched that, TED talk, if you will. But it definitely got me fired up, and I definitely wrote down those 3 evening journal cues that you talked about. But talk about the marbles and how that motivates you.
Yeah. So I turned 31 in 2014, and the day before my birthday, my father passed away at 62 from pancreatic cancer. And it was this really ugly 11-month short fight. 11 months is quick, especially my memory of it now. Dad was here and Dad's dead. And I had a big realization then of my own mortality. That was kind of the first moment that it really clicked for whatever reason. It was, holy shit, we're going to fucking die, man. And I don't know when, and I don't know what it looks like, but I know there's a chance that it plays out the way his did. And if that's true, and I'm halfway through my life, what am I doing with my time, and what does that time really look like? And so I ended up breaking that 31 years that I have left to live as my marker of my dad's life and something to keep me focused as 1,612 weeks. So I filled this jar with 1,612 marbles, and every Monday I pluck one of them out and I take a time to reflect on it. And I look and ask myself, was this spent in pursuit of my dreams and taking actions aligned with who I want to be? Surrounding myself with people I love that bring value to me, that I get to share my love and value with as well? Or was it spent out of obligation and doing a bunch of shit just to get to the next thing to do? Was it spent around people that lower my energy and steal my desire to want to create the life I want to? Because either way, I throw that marble in the trash. It's not more valuable that I spent it one way or the other. It's gone. And if that's the case, then what's the risk? What's the risk in pursuing being my best? If both stories possibly end with me getting sick and fucking dying, the ride's got to be worth it. And these marbles are what keep me accountable to it, because it's easy to be on autopilot and it's easy to let those weeks just blend in. And I want more memories in my life that don't blend in.
Do you have that jar somewhere where you see it all week?
Yeah, it's on the table across the room from me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Having that physical, I don't know if you call it a ceremony or just that little, every week you're pulling that out. Since you started doing that, have those weeks started meaning more? Have you been able to pull yourself back into, all right, I'm going this direction, I need to go this direction, because you have that little bit of time each Monday or whatever day it is that you do it to kind of recenter?
It for sure helps. Yeah, it for sure helps. Just taking that reflective minute. I mean, the same way I would look at my training every week, right? I would look at it and say, what was good, what was bad, what could we do better? I mean, why wouldn't I take that same approach to making progress in my life linearly? You know, with that said, right, like I do have that reflection moment every week, but it's really short. And so every 5 or 6 weeks, I like having about 48 hours to fuck off. And I want to have about 48 hours to get away from whatever it is my current daily actions look like, my current routine, so that I can get a little bit of perspective and distance from it to be able to have a reset and say, what are we doing? And do we need to continue that, or what needs to change?
What does that 48 hours look like? Are you going somewhere, or is that just
It varies.
Yeah.
It varies. I can definitely do it at home at this point, you know, but what it really needs is me to do a bunch of things that aren't normally in my schedule. You know, it's long bike ride, long hike. It's longer time in the sauna, long time in the cold plunge, more time journaling, time listening to an audiobook and having some chance for new thoughts, time spent outside, time not solving the normal problems that I have to grow the business.
So you talk about the business, and you have a clothing company as well, Not Dead Yet. Rich and I have spent some time working for some clothing companies, and we know that's probably the hardest business to start.
Yeah.
So how is that going? How has that changed since you started it? And does it look the same as it, you know, what you thought it was going to be when you started it?
Oh man, I had no idea what I was doing when I was starting, and I still basically feel that way. And so part of that now is realizing that basically 10 years into this brand, that me feeling like I don't know what I'm doing, and because I have other peers who've done this, who also don't know what they're doing, then that's the right feeling. That means I'm pushing the edge. That means I'm pushing not being comfortable in it, that I'm still trying to push for growth. I'm not just on autopilot turning out a shirt every 3 weeks. And so, yeah, no idea what this would be when I started. I can't believe it's become what it's become. I can't believe this is what I've got to do for a living for the last 9 years. Yeah, really had no idea what I was doing. I didn't set out to start an apparel brand. I was writing books. I started writing books about how to throw in the Highland Games, and the hate became something I talked about in one chapter. And then that became the biggest thing I've ever done. And then as that's continued to grow and adapt, right? Like that's how Not Dead Yet's come about. And realizing that that's what the journey forward really feels like in my heart and what I want to talk about. And so that's the direction we're going to go.
Does everything fall under Hate Brand, or has everything kind of transitioned to like Dope and Not Dead Yet?
So everything's transitioned to Not Dead Yet. Yeah. So we rebranded everything in January. And I mean, look, man, I'm a maniac to where, you know, at some point I've got Habit Coffee, the UMSO podcast, Hate Brand Goods. I've got too many things named different shit. Like that's not anyone's advice for how to grow businesses. I'm a fucking maniac. And so being able to pull it all back into what that, you know, the ethos is and where the real base of the message is Not Dead Yet. It's about being accountable to those years in front of you that you haven't lived yet, instead of letting yesterday determine what those look like.
So there's a lot of stuff out there for guys in terms of exercise equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And Jimmy and I are working on some stuff here. We're going to be doing some product reviews and stuff. So why do I want to invest in a pair of goat shorts versus, say, Fabletics or maybe another brand that's out there? And
how do you align with the owner for Fabletics?
I don't.
Perfect. So there's one way.
Sold.
Yeah.
Can I Venmo you?
Greatest shorts of all time. It's in the name. I mean, look, I think that's part of it, right? That you like your energy, your money, wherever you choose to spend it. That's really the vote that you've got in your life to say what you want more of in the world. And if what you want more of in the world is really affordable shorts that come from a company that you have no idea who they run it or how they run it, then right on. But if you do want to support people that give a shit about what they create and have a message that you resonate with and are building a community that also you see benefits the place that you'd like to be in your life, there's an opportunity for you to support that too. and where you want to put that energy. And I recommend you do it with whatever you think comes back to you. And so, I mean, for me, you know, our goat shorts have been killers. We've continued to revise them. We've made them better, and I use them for everything. You know, I use those for boxing training, jujitsu, lifting, and casual wear, you know, as well as I can use them in the sauna and the cold plunge. I really just wanted to make one short to rule them all, right? Like, I don't need a bunch of options to go do different shit. I just want to be able to say yes right now and get to getting.
So I'm a 28-inch waist. What size do I get?
You're probably going to go medium.
Medium?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If you're going to go with our goat pants, I would go one size up.
Okay. No liners in the shorts, correct?
No, I let people choose their own underwear, man.
I'm a lifelong runner. It's so ingrained into my brain that it seems awkward to have a pair of shorts that I would probably predominantly use on the trails for hiking and running than not have that liner in there. But I get it.
Sure, right? And I mean, and also, I wouldn't say there's any part of my brand that was like, we're going to make the greatest running shorts.
Yeah, no, I know.
I've run dozens of miles in my existence. literally under 10, under 30. But for shorts that can do everything, yeah, these are the ones. Do I think these are the greatest shorts to compete in strongman in? Nah, I'd probably wear neoprene briefs. Do I think they're the greatest shorts for doing everything very well? Oh yeah.
Right on.
As someone who creates content, yeah, you mentioned Brant. He's the guy who, you know, shoots stuff for you and edits for you. What does your guys' process look like? Does Brant come to you with ideas? Do you go to him with ideas? Is it a little bit of both? Is Brant someone you knew prior to creating content, or someone you ran into when you decided to start, you know, creating content?
So I've had the brand for 9 years. I think that's official. Yeah. So 2014 in October to now. Brant came on board in like 2020, and Super Green was doing a little bit of video production work and some editing work for a company here in St. Louis. I think he was basically filming HDMI cables. As exciting as that can be. And Bonnie was looking for someone to help her build a website. And so she kind of put out an ad on Instagram about needing someone to help build a website. And Brant's the only person that responded to her with a mock-up of how he would build it. And so she hired him. So he built out her website for her. And I was talking to her as I was kind of looking for editing help. And I'm like, hey, what all does this guy Brant do? And she's like, well, let me ask, and finds out. And I'm like, where is he located? And she's like, oh shit, he's in St. Louis. And like, we didn't even know he was in town. And I was like, let's see if he wants to meet for lunch. And so I met him for lunch and we chatted. And I was like, hey man, why don't next you come over and we're going to film some video, which was basically his job application, was film this video and edit it. And yeah, we've worked together since. But I mean, a lot of that has gone from I'm creating content and Brant is a machine that's going to edit it and help me tell the story, to now Brant is full creative partner. Like, I value Brant's opinion because Brant is so much better on that side of things than I am, that he's going to see things from that perspective with the camera that I don't. And so it becomes my job to stay visionary and stay what direction of the content's to go. And then we get together and we'll brainstorm on like what the big pieces look like or what needs to be shot.
Does he work out with you if you make him work out?
He works out, but nobody works out with me. No, I don't want to train with anybody.
Okay. Solitude.
Look, man, I realized a while back, right? I didn't have a garage gym solely out of convenience. It's because I didn't want company. And part of that's, I want to train whenever I feel like training. So I don't want to feel, well, I'm going to be there at 6. I don't operate that way. I like the fact that my life has gotten to a point that I don't need an alarm clock. With that said, I still wake up anywhere between 3 and 6 a.m. But that means I get up and go straight here and can start my thing because I don't have to wait on anything. And if I've got to wait around to train, the chances are I'll just not do it. And so I've got to strategize against it. I also do it in the morning. By this point in the day, like I'm not doing anything. I'm done.
Yep.
Brant's a guy that likes training in the evening. You know, all I care is that Brant's healthy, that Brant understands why we give a shit about being physically fit. And part of that is so Brant can do his job better, which is create content. You got to be able to keep up. And he sees it now as like, oh man, the more fit I am, the longer I can hold a camera in position that other people can't. The longer I can work hours and stay focused than other people can't. I make progress faster in my life. And he sees how that all still comes from being able to build bigger endurance and build a bigger engine by being healthy and how you feel yourself.
Did Brant not train when you guys met?
He was powerlifting at the time. I think he was competing in powerlifting, but he no longer does.
You guys did almost like a tie-dye shirt.
Mhm.
A couple of years ago. A friend of mine that lives in Baton Rouge got it for me as a gift, but it was the "Is the juice worth the squeeze" shirt. So I just want to share something with you here. This is before your shirt came out, but great minds think alike. See that?
Oh, I see it. What's up, lady? With the oranges?
Yeah.
Juice
So
worth the squeeze,
that's
man.
my rendition of "Is the juice worth the squeeze?"
Yo, that's got to be it though, right? Like, it's all a choice where I want to put my energy and where I want to put my effort. And so, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Everyone's always like, "What was her name?" And I always say it's a metaphor for life.
Yeah, right.
Matt, so Final Floor, first question I got for you is, are you a coffee drinker?
Very much. I've owned a coffee company for the last 6 years. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a problem.
All right. So how do you brew your coffee and how do you take your coffee?
Black. And then would vary depending on day. For the most part, I'm a cold brew type of guy because I want 30 ounces of it. One of the treats I have for getting myself up in the morning and going straight to the gym is I let someone else make my coffee. So I swing through Starbucks and I go get a 30-ounce cold brew and I drink that for kind of the first half of the day. If I'm going to enjoy coffee, I'm going to sit and do a pour over with something like an Ethiopian, like more of a lighter roast that I'll drink black.
All right. You have a bag of your company that you suggest?
I like our Ethiopian, which is our snake oil. Good for all that ails you.
Matt, have you ever heard of Third Wave Water?
I have not.
Put it on your list. It's a company, gentleman's name is Charles Nick. I believe they're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And what Charles did, he was a NASA scientist and couldn't figure out why he couldn't get his coffee to taste like it did when he got it at his coffee shop. Found out that there's a specific mineral profile that really good coffee shops use when they filter their water. So being the genius that he was, he took that water profile, dehydrated it. So he took the minerals out of it. And now he sells it as a powdered mineral formulation that you put in like a gallon of distilled water. And that's the water that you use to brew your coffee.
Oh, shit. That's a new level of nerdery for coffee I haven't heard about.
Yeah. Matt, we kind of talked about it throughout this episode, but do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Matt Vincent?
A ton, like basically the whole day. So like my morning routine is probably my biggest and most consistent. And that morning routine involves that hour of zone 2 cardio. And a big chunk of that, right, is like from the time I wake up until I'm done with my morning routine, I am super limiting any time I have on my phone. It is either to put music on or put a podcast on or put a book on. I am not interacting with anything or anyone. And so I do that hour of zone 2 cardio while I watch a documentary or a podcast or something I'm interested in. I just want it to spark interest and curiosity. When I wrap that up, I get in the sauna and I listen to an audiobook. And by that point, something's going to trigger an idea in my head from the audiobook or from the documentary I've watched. And so that's where I start journaling. And so as I journal in the sauna and I finish up that sauna time, I kind of, I base my sauna time a lot on feel now. And I know there's a point when I'm sitting in there that I can't really write anymore, not just from being drippy and gross, but like I can't think because I'm too hot. And so usually at that point, I set a timer for 10 minutes. And I usually will make sure I stay off my phone, and at that point really just sit and kind of focus on being uncomfortable. I wrap up there and hit the cold plunge for 3 minutes with some breath work to kind of down regulate and regain focus. And then I hit the day. Throughout the day, I try to get in a few walks. And then no matter what, I try to end my day with some round of sauna and cold again. And so during this round of sauna, I typically go to a gratitude practice. And so I will sit there and kind of end my day with a thank you universe. And I will either use my mala as a physical presence of a thing to just hold and touch and go through around each bead. And I mean, it's simply as quick as like, thank you, universe, for all the challenges you've ever put in front of me. Thank you, universe, for showing me that I'm capable of solving these problems. Thank you, universe, for realizing that I'm the solution to anything I want to solve. Thank you, universe, for the businesses I've been able to build. Thank you for the community that I surround myself with. Thank you, body, for showing up every day and continuing to train and get better. Thank you, mind, for being as creative as you are. Thank you for all the years that I felt out of place and stayed with that. Thank you for the knee injury, which has taught me how to, etc. And so that gratitude practice, I end up building into that manifestation work about what I want to create in my life. And I start saying that in the presence as well. Thank you, universe, for the millions of dollars my business makes. Thank you, universe, for the opportunities that continue to find me. And so no matter what it is, I start putting that out there. And then when I go home, I plug my phone in instead of keep it by me. I know I'm going to check it, but at least I have to fucking get up and go do that. And then, my favorite end of the day, man, is I like getting stoned on the couch with my chick and watching a movie.
It's a pretty solid daily practice, Richard. It might be up there with Steve Maxwell.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Steve smokes cannabis though.
No.
What a bummer.
What a indica kind of guy, hybrid? What
I'm way more of an indica kind of guy.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot of help with up, especially with the amount of coffee I'll drink. And so I don't ever really have a problem with being on the gas mentally. And so I find cannabis can work a little bit as throttle control to pull things back so I can focus a bit.
Okay. What's the climate where you're at? Are you riding dirty or is it on the up and up?
Oh no, we're legal here.
Yeah,
we're
okay.
full rec. We're full rec.
Oh, right on.
I almost answered with what the fucking weather temperature is. Almost blew
it.
Is it like every corner in St. Louis, or is it because we lived in San Diego County, and San Diego proper didn't really have stores, but outside had a decent amount. What's it like in St. Louis?
The industry's grown quite a bit. I think we went rec like in January. And so, I mean, I live less than 2 miles from dope. And then I've got a dispensary less than a mile from my house.
Right on.
Matt, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
I am reading stuff. Let me give you a look at what audiobooks look like right now. We'll just go through the top 5 or 6 that I've got. I kind of bounce between books depending on the mood I'm in. So I'm listening to The Fifth Agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm listening to Out of Your Mind by Alan Watts. I'm listening to the Harvard Business Review Guide to Crafting Your Purpose. I'm listening to The Molecule of More and The Immortality Key currently. Music. This week has been a lot of like Tyler, the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, and Childish Gambino.
All right.
But that varies quite a bit. Listen to a lot of like LCD Sound System, Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I dig that whole genre and era of music. Get into some weirder old stuff. I dig Bowie and a bunch of weird shit from that time. New York Dolls. Just weirdo artist. And then a lot more EDM lately. I've been listening to, there's a great YouTube channel called Circle and has these great super vibey DJ sets that are, you know, maybe an hour and a half long. So they're great background music playing in the gym while I'm in here during the day. But band like Monolink is a good one.
You said it's called Circle?
Circle, yeah, Cercle.
You ever catch Diplo out at Burning Man?
I didn't. I heard that he was there. But like at Burning Man, like there's no like set list that anyone knows. Like, it's all this like weird fucking rumor that has to spread through everywhere of where shit's happening. And I'm an old guy.
Yeah, me too.
I like vibey music. I just don't care who's playing it.
Right on. Respect.
Yeah.
Matt, last one we got for you. Do you have a guilty pleasure or guilty pleasures?
Food, man.
Yeah.
Always a weakness. I would say, yeah, food being probably the biggest guilty pleasure. And then probably porn, but that one's one I'm trying to work on.
What's your
favorite
food?
genre?
Fucking dirty.
Just
dog.
only stuck stuff. Anytime someone's stuck in a thing is really what the fucking dumbest goddamn thing. I can't believe there's a whole genre of that. It's fucking incredible. But it's really become one of those things, right? Like I don't believe there's anything wrong with porn. Like I kind of or anything for that matter. I guess the nihilistic part of my philosophy puts me into a place where I don't think anything's inherently good or bad. And so I believe everything, it's intention of how it gets used. And if I'm using it for disconnection and distraction from doing things that are taking away from the goals I want to reach, then I probably need to rethink it. You know, if I was using it in a different setting, right? Like same with cannabis. You know, if I'm smoking pot all day to avoid my fucking problems and I'm not getting anything done, you should probably wonder whether or not that's a beneficial tool for you. But if I'm using cannabis in the evenings to settle down regulate, and intensify connection with me and my chick sitting on the couch, then I'm all behind it. And so really that question of whatever it is I'm using comes down to, for me, is it used for connection or disconnection? And I'm trying to eliminate any of the stuff that I purposely can catch myself disconnecting with.
Love it. Powerful. Back to the food real quick. Is it sweet or savory or all of it?
Fucking all of it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just a garbage can. I'd rather, like, I just want to order $40 worth of Taco Bell and eat till I explode, or order cookies from Insomnia Cookies and eat till I explode. Like, that's what I want to do. Eat until I no longer can think about eating more pizza or cookies or cheeseburgers or any of the other wonderfully white trash substances I'm so in love with from my childhood.
Respect.
Yeah, feel you on that.
Look, everything should be done in moderation, including moderation.
Absolutely. Moderation's for cowards.
Matt, thank you for taking the time from your evening to chat with the Airy Bros tonight. This was a pleasure. And
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Matt, where can everyone find you? Where do you want us to direct everyone? What do you just want to put in the show notes for you?
Yeah. Anyone looking to get in touch with me, shoot me an email, matt@vincent.net. You can reach me on Instagram, Matthew P. Vincent. Check out our community over at Not Dead Yet Life. We've got our free Facebook community. You can find all that through the link in the bio on my Instagram. And look, I just want to surround myself with people as interested in making the most of their lives as I am. And I know there's a great thing that happens in people's lives when you realize that I'd rather be by myself and chasing my thing than be surrounded by people who lower that energy, and people that aren't going after shit, people that I have to explain why I want more out of myself. And it's great figuring that out and realizing that you can pursue it on your own. But when you're around other people that get the energy, and you're around other people that spark that fire, and it amplifies what you can get done, that's when the real progress can start getting made. And instead of, like most people dwindle around, their communities continue to dwindle after college and only be around people that they work with. What about if you were really intentional and chose those fucking people that you want to spend your time with? and pick people that are pursuing things that you want to be great at. Of course, you'd learn more and continue to adapt the way they do. And so if you're looking to make the most of your life and find accountability and be around a community of people that want to see you win, that's what we're here for. So come check us out, Not Dead Yet Life. We host retreats and we host a bunch of other experiences. We've got our Hard Reset retreat here in St. Louis, May 3rd through 6th. And then we've also got our Colorado exposure, which is going to be like a 6-day trip in Colorado. We're going to go sandboarding and whitewater rafting and do a bunch of just rad outdoor experiences, including some breath work and some other things while we camp.
You go to Great Sand Dunes for that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And that's, when was that one again? That was in
one's gonna
summer?
be in June, yeah.
June. Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a killer trip.
It's been an honor, a pleasure chatting with you tonight. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully look forward to hanging out with you sometime in 2024.
Yeah, dude. I'd love to have you guys, man. Shoot me a message if you want some more information to check it out.
I will definitely. Thank you.
Thank you guys, man. Thank you guys a ton for having me, and anything you guys get from the show and want to send for me to put out there too, I'd love to share.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Later, Matt.
Okay, be well.